Hello everybody, welcome back to 2CTV. Over the last few months, we've talked a lot about the death of Europe. We've seen chaos happening on a regular basis. But how long will it take for people in this continent to say enough is enough? In this video, we're going to talk about what's been going on over the last few hours and over the weekend in general in Paris, the capital of France, where a huge group of Afghan migrants have decided to cause riots and chaos. Once again, over a suicide pact situation where 3 people committed suicide. And now the migrants are coming out to blame the establishment. Let's get on with the show. Yes, indeed, enough is enough. That should be the word that we must be hearing across the continent, but we're not. Apart from you guys watching this channel and some good people, patriots across this continent, no one from the establishment is saying any of this. Nobody in the media. The masses out there who are still distracted and busy with their own problems in their own daily lives. Fair enough. But when are we going to hear enough is enough? This is the theme, and this is the problem. Now, let's talk about what's been going on now, because Paris has become the center for disruption. There's nothing new about it. But over the last few decades, it's no longer just the French natives, the actual French people. It's not them. Of course, there is the revolutionary blood that always goes around the country, where, even if the government makes the tiniest change in domestic policies, the French are always ready to come and burn cars on Tuesdays. But that attitude has also encouraged bad behavior when it comes to migrants. Multiculturalism. Oh yes, if you think things are bad in London, you should see what's going on in France, in Paris, on a daily basis, by the way. It's not just about riots. So, following the 3 people who committed suicide, and somehow the migrants from Afghanistan are blaming the authorities, we have seen these sort of scenes. The level of disrespect when it comes to certain communities in their new countries. There are countries who've been generous enough to host migrants because they said, you had a problem in your home country, feel free to come here and we will embrace you. The whole point of this and the situation with asylum seeking and helping refugees was supposed to be a two-way street. That was supposed to be the case. That the developed world would be helping you to save you, and you should be grateful, you should integrate, you should become French, like the rest of the people in France. You should become British. That's not the case. And that's primarily for 2 reasons. One is, when numbers go up quickly and it creates mass migration instead of just migration, and then you bring in cultures that are not just incompatible with your own country, but they're incompatible when it comes to the other cultures. Most of the clashes we are seeing in the West is not really between the natives and certain migrants, it's actually between different cultures. We had an issue a year ago in the Midlands in England, where you had a group of Hindus and the Islamic side and everybody else was just lashing out. It wasn't even against the white English. This is the level of disrespect that we're talking about. The self-entitlement of some of the migrants coming into the West, that's escalating. We already had spoiled, privileged idiots, homegrown in the West, because of bad parenting and bad education. They grow up expecting free this and free that. But now on top of that, we also have to deal with the newcomers who some of them, a lot of them now, are also self-entitled. They expect free this and free that, but they're not even integrating. Let's go to the next video from Paris. Now, a lot of people who might be complaining now are the same people, the masses, who've been continuing to vote the same way for decades and decades. Voting for the same mainstream parties, nothing changes. And I'm not just blaming the political parties for this mess. Yes, they were the decision makers, policy makers, but it's the combination of everything and our institutions, our civil services, and everybody else. But as long as you vote for the same way, of course you're going to get the same thing. Now, Paris is going to have the Olympics soon, right? That's going to be interesting. National security is at risk. And we're not just talking about the threats from the extreme Islamists, like Hezbollah types. We're just talking about basic disruption. Can they handle it? Maybe they can short term. Let's go to the next clip. Some of the videos we have, by the way, might be, because they're all kind of compilation of different types of videos. Some of them might be repetitive towards the end. But yeah, I think it's important for people to see them anyway, especially those who just joined the live stream. Because I think one of the main problems we currently have is that there's no discussion about why the concept of mass migration doesn't work. And it's because there's a lack of level playing field. Nobody from the West is going to the East. Everybody from the East comes to the West. Nobody from the developed world goes to the underdeveloped or developing. You know, some people do short-term for work and come back. But everybody from the underdeveloped world, they come, the third world, they come to the developed world. That's not a level playing field. If you go and try to change a culture in Saudi Arabia or Qatar, they're not going to be happy about that. Why should be tolerant? And I'm not even talking about me, because I'm not even a native. I'm not Anglo-Saxon. I'm a guest. This generous nation decided to welcome me and embrace me, and I decided to be grateful about it and give something back. But I know my place. I mean, it's my job to also defend the country. This is my new home. But I'm not Anglo-Saxon. It's the job of the rest of the natives. Same applies to the French. Where are they? Let's go to the next video. So, by the way, apologies, as I'm talking, Bumban has been causing chaos, throwing his football around if it was quite noisy. Sorry about that. I think he's also started rioting in the flats, as he's been, it says, encouraging bad behavior. The migrants in Paris encouraging bad behavior. Even Bumban in the flat is currently causing chaos. So, talking about the natives in all our countries, Anglo-Saxons in England, the French, the Germans, Swedes, and everybody else. Yes, as I said, most people voted the same way, same political parties for a long time. Stuff doesn't change. But there's another problem. People need to take responsibility for their own countries. We don't. People in England, for example, have moved out of London, a lot of them. Patriots, good people. Hard-working people because they are sick and tired of it. Same applies to Paris. A lot of good French people ran away from Paris. Because on a personal level, you want to protect your family and you want to have you want to have some peace. But this is called a retreat. You're retreating. You're not fighting back because a lot of people in England say London is not England, right? So we left. Paris is not France, so we left. It's a true statement. But you retreating and never coming back to fight back is the reason that London is lost, is the reason that Paris is lost. Now, of course, we have to also hold the authorities to account, the establishment. It's their job, the policymakers, but it's also the job of the people to send a message to the establishment that we want to take back control of London. We want to take back control of Paris. If everybody just gives up on Paris and London, just two examples, then of course, it's fallen. Why are we surprised? Insanity. Super chat. First super chat of the night from Mustard. Thank you. Saying Paris is a shadow of itself. Walk into a street besides the tourist ones and end up facing gangs and this kind of savagery. It also smells pretty bad. I know. If you think things are bad in London, go to Paris for a second. Aaron says, I fear that the Pew Pew squads will be next. But it won't against them. It will be them against us. I think that's what it says. They have that cultural mindset, and we've become weak and flabby. Well, weak and feeble. Civil Defence UK says, Mr. Tusi, England is a better place with you in it. I'm proud that your mother made the UK your home. Thank you for standing up for all of us there. I really appreciate this. Of course, don't forget, 2 days from now, Tuesday the 23rd of April, 3 o'clock, Westminster, near Parliament, St. George's Day. We will be there to send a message, not just to the establishment, but the rest of the people in this country who are burying their heads in the sand. We must rise up in a peaceful manner to let people know that England must be defended. The land is England, and it was once the foundation of order. Never forget that. The country that gave a lot of good ideas and values to the rest of the world, including the justice system and the modern free market economic model, and the modern democracy as well. Checks and balances. What's happening now? And of course, let's not forget, the French also gave some good ideas in terms of the political system, but they went a little bit too far. But it's the French. Hello to the French in the live chat, by the way. I love you all. Some of you, not all of you, not Macron. And his wife. Wife? Yeah. Super chat from Carlos. We are doomed unless something happens as soon as possible. And super sticker from Mr. Bum. Thank you very much. And Vamp Diva says, rebellious Bumban. Do you think they will be in trouble on St. George's Day? There will be trouble. Stay safe when you're out and about. I think the media and the police will try to find excuses to create a situation where there is drama and trouble on the 23rd. But I don't think it will be obviously organized, any sort of like far-right march or anything like that. We don't do that in England. But the media will, of course, find a way to portray it as a scary march, even though it's just for St. George's Day. It's just a national day for England. Nothing crazy about it. Everyone's fine with St. Patrick's Day, but apparently St. George's Day is scary. Mikey B says, we are not going to take it anymore. Well, I hope that's the case. Pete Domingo says that they can't admit that their plan didn't work, and they never will, not even when they are pushed out themselves. I mean, that applies to a lot of people in the establishment. Cold Breeze says, said it before and I will say it again. These people are pure evil. But the savagery is simply because it's a different worldview. And that's the problem when it comes to third world cultures. And the class as well matters, because you still have people from, the developing world or underdeveloped world, or even the Arab countries, but you still have the middle classes in terms of education, in terms of basic civility. They might be okay at times. But it's not just about the culture, it's also about the lower classes from those cultures. It's a combination of both that is causing trouble in Europe. A lot of these people, they're an establishment, they didn't want them there. We had, again, this is not really to say the dictators, certain dictators are good or bad. Of course, dictatorship is bad, but we're talking about a different world. When you had Gaddafi, when you had Saddam, or even Assad, still a bunch of psychos. But in terms of the way they were keeping their own countries stable, while the nutters were there in their own countries, they shut them up, keep them quiet. And then when chaos happened, they sent them out. Say, get out of here, get out of Syria, get out of Iraq, get out of Libya. But of course, then we caused trouble there. Now they went back to control when Gaddafi went, when Saddam went, and some of them are now here. There was a reason those dictators were doing that. Not that it was moral, but it was for stability. Derek says, looking forward to the Olympics. Should be interesting. I know, right? Paris. Some British guy says, we are fed up with people disrespecting our country and culture. We're even fed up with them doing the same to the European Union and the United States. To be fair, we say we. How much is we? As I said, where are the masses? There's no outrage right now, for now, across the United Kingdom. People, the big chunk of society will still be happy to vote Labour and Tory. They'll be distracted with other problems until somebody tells them, open your windows, look outside, look what's happening. Edmund says, I don't think they should become anything. I think this is about my statement saying if migrants are in France, you should become French. If you're in Britain, you should become British, obviously. But you can't do it with mass migration, obviously. Actually, this statement helps. Edmund says that they should return. Europe is for Europeans only because everyone else has their own continent. Why do Europeans have to share theirs? This is about the statement about mass migration. And I don't blame people like Edmund for saying this, because there's been no level playing field. People from one side come to the west. It doesn't go. It's not vice versa. It doesn't do. People from Europe don't move to Saudi Arabia happily to live en masse. And you wonder why some of the natives are kicking off. Speaking of kicking off, AFC Manika says, oh, Maya sounds like Bumban is kicking off. Yeah, he's gone quiet now, but he was also causing a riot in the flat. Michelle says that people are at an all-time high because lots of the problems have been caused by those people or their allies, and they still struggle now because there is more and new problems with jobs and inflation. Meg or MEG says the migrants are self-destructing, as thus cannot continue. You are adopted, Maya. We don't have a problem with multiracial. It's multicultural that we have an issue with. I think this is the majority in Britain. Of course, there are some people who have a problem with multiracialism, like Steve Laws. He doesn't like mixed race people or anything like that. But that's a different argument. Most people, Middle England, the main problem is about values. It's about your mindset. It's about your behavior, everyday behavior, and your attitude. Don't change the country. When my mother came here, she didn't tell me you need to tell British people to be like Iranians. She said you have to be like them, because we were supposed to be the minority. It seems like at some point, even if you go back to racialism rather than just culturalism issues, eventually there's going to be more non-white or non-Anglo-Saxon types in England, in this tiny island, within the next few decades. But there's a correlation between your skin color or whatever and attitude. If you change the country quickly, if it's over time, over a century or so, that's just the skin tone changes that happen throughout history in every continent and every tribe. It was the Vikings that came here. We have all the blondes here. The Anglo-Saxons were not blonde before the Vikings, for example. But that's a gradual change. But if you change it instantly, skin color changes for the face of the country. The correlation is at the same time as attitude and culture and values. That changes. Have I missed anything? Yep. Super sticker from Evening Star, £10. Thank you so much for the support. And also Angela says, put towards a glass of whiskey. That's a very expensive glass of whiskey, but it's actually double. £10 is double whiskey in London, really. Sometimes more than £10 actually these days. Super chat from Deborah, Rome, Italy. I have no more words. Yeah, don't blame you. And Mustard is back saying, I think Europe belongs to Europeans, Dalai Lama. Yeah, he thought right. Maya is brilliant, more British than all the lefties. It's sad, isn't it? Jill says the reason their own country is so terrible is because of them. They don't want to be normal or law-abiding. Yes, no, yeah, absolutely spot on, by the way, Jill. The state of politics and politicians and the country is a mirror held at the people themselves in every tribe throughout history. Now, there might be temporary problems, short-term issues like occupations, like in Iran since 1979, there's been an occupation, not will of the people. It's not like when the Palestinians voted in 2005-2006 for Hamas. But that's a different situation. If you essentially condone bad behavior by your establishment and the masses, the culture, then the blame should go towards the society itself. Because it's a mirror held at the people themselves. The reason certain countries in the continent of Africa are still tribal is because, well, they don't have stability. It's because they're tribal. They can't unite. And they continue to believe that while everybody else is doing corruption in order to get rich, I have to also do corruption. Instead of one person standing up in Central Africa and say, okay, maybe it's time for better leadership to stop tribalism between all our areas in this country, and maybe it's time to kick out the Chinese Communist Party and any other foreign influence, even the Americans, and create a better country. It's up to the people in each tribe to decide that. That's exactly how Western Europe became developed and civilized. People rose up. Before Magna Carta, everybody talks about Magna Carta. Before Magna Carta, before William the Bastard came to England, this country, the Anglo-Saxons, created the concept of govern by consent. Now, that was a very early days democracy, without being democracy, of course. It was still the upper classes, but it was the local barons and the local leaders that had to give consent to the local kings and then the so-called regional or wider establishments. They had to have the consent. Otherwise, you can't govern. People rose up, even back then when England was still, and it's always been, centralized, an establishment. It's always been the elite running this country. It's not like America. The people, the power given to the establishment from the people. That's America, or at least was. Now it's also centralized like Europe. Where are we now? There's so much we can say on this topic, of course, but I think we should focus on the reality that the threat is here and we're not doing anything about it so far. And when I say we, it's not me and you guys, the rest of us. Big thank you to everybody who joined us and gave us a super chat. Don't forget to check out our new shiny website, 2c.tv. You can also register your interest to join 2C TV Plus, the new platform. Those of you, if you've already emailed, they've obviously registered your interest and you're wondering why you haven't received an email or confirmation, it's because we haven't actually released the actual new platform. You will receive an email within the next week or so, a few days. Big thank you to Tad Media, our official partners that created this website. The link is in the description. Go check them out as well. And don't forget, again, go and register your interest in joining 2C TV Plus. Thank you so much. You've been watching 2C TV. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.